Okay. So, hello everyone. To dive into it in the presence of the system admin beyond the world room and in the presence of all created intelligent beings or created beings finding themselves as nodes in an intelligent field. I begin this lecture with a very simple sentence that we live in honor of the greatness of humanity. We live in honor of human greatness. Now, I don't know who you are listening, from where in the world you're listening, but the moment has arose where human greatness must be acknowledged worldwide. That means if your imagination has imagined your greatest future self, you just forgot to imagine the greatest future world. And that is the great game. There are humans that live for themselves. There are humans that live for their families. There are humans that live for their nations. And now we have reached that wonderful time in the history of a evolutionary species, let us say, where species awareness, species level of awareness and responsibility is arising. There's no way to exactly know the unseen completely, but there will come a moment in the lives of all human beings that are alive now, or it may have occurred even to human beings way before us, that in some sense, this world, or we have found ourselves humbled in this position of the world. We live in honor of the greatness of humanity. We live in honor of the greatness of our species. Right now, we're living in 2025 as what we, compared to the past, think are more modern human beings, but in actuality, modern does not mean advanced. Advancement means there is more to the discovery. There is more to the reality. There is more to any story you're telling yourself or your soul is hiding in as a character is hiding in as a character. What I mean is that I am that human being that is saying the uncommon. And the common view is to act like an idea of me owns this moment and you're actually talking to the idea of me, but I cannot lie. What we are truly here is an unknown witnessing presence. Do you know? And it's unknown in the sense that it is unknowable because it's like, how do I explain it? It's like, imagine like an extraterrestrial lands on Earth, but these aren't like really smart extraterrestrials. I don't know, smart enough to get to Earth. But anyways, they look at, imagine they see some dude driving to work and they think that the car is alive. And when somebody steps out of the car, these extraterrestrials are shocked, right? They're like, what the fuck? We thought the car was your body. You know, that you just stepped out of your car body. And we're like, bro, it's not our body, it's a car. Do you know what I mean? Excuse me, to continue. Honestly, as a human being on Earth, it fascinates me why our species hasn't managed to identify on a species level, and why we are not in the transnationalistic era. That means it seems to me that the mistakes of every generation are the updates of the next generation. The question is not what was your life, did your life have meaning or not? It's the question of how deep was the meaning of all life? Why was it all here? Why were we in existence? Do you know? And in some sense, to me, I think in reality, every conscious human being, like when they are conscious of reality, questions arise. It's not up to you. They're like, yo, man, what are you fascinated by? He's like, and the person's like, by all the macro unknowns. For me, reality is more a given position, right? So we didn't design this world, we find ourselves in it. What does that mean, finding ourselves in a world that was designed before we were here? It does. There's a lot of stuff that, if you look at it from a human way, doesn't make sense. But if you wonder about the context shift, so you see, we are right now beings that consciously identify with the human concept. Imagine in the future, other animals, imagine a squirrel became as conscious as a human. Would it still identify as a squirrel? Will it still do squirrel things? To me, evolution was like there was a box on the head of the being, and this box was lifted. And when this box was lifted, the intelligence was already there. That means we don't know the dormant potential of consciousness, because more than it's associated to an individual form or position in reality, it is in accordance to a field. And how can I explain it to you? That we as human beings are living in the middle of two different natures of reality. What are you in the presence of? What do you truly know? Who are you really? And why does the moment go forth? When I say we live we live in honor of human greatness, in honor of the greatness of humanity, is because that's the greatest thing we can do for humans. That means, to me, more than life has to have specific meaning, it's pretty much I wake up every day and I wonder, what do I have to honor with my presence throughout the day? What does that mean? That means you can right now bring a person and put him in front of me, and this person, right, may not see a value to what I say. Do you understand? And then imagine you bring a person who sees value. The person who sees value can access the same reality. On some level, what it is me, by giving these lectures, I am allowing the humans, I'm creating focal points for human dialogue. Do you know? Like, I just wish that day comes when I look at the comment section of all my lectures, and instead of I'm seeing people trash talking, I see people like the most fascinating discussions and conversations. You know, it's very funny. You look at media, you're like, what if it was more honest? You look at communication, you're like, what if it was more intelligent? And we're lucky that there isn't like that level of smart people on Earth. Let me tell you why. Because the smartest person on Earth could technically read a mind. So, what does it mean to live in honor of the greatness of your species? Question: do you know the greatness of your species? No. So, when we live in honor of the greatness of our species, we are living for the greatest potential activation of human effort on Earth. We have reached that moment in human history where human beings are too conscious. That means even if you keep repeating the simulation, that means we've reached that point on Earth where this is what, if there were any evil bad guys with agendas of like global brainwashing and all of this is what they didn't consider, right? That a person's inner realm cannot be occupied. You see, in the outer realms, there's the talk of freedom or the absence of freedom. Do you know? But in the inner realms, what is freedom? Do you understand? That means I'm saying you, like, they're treating us, they think, like, I don't know, I think the civilization thinks that people are stupid. You know, that's the issue with Civilization 1.0. It thinks like the species is not noticing. Do you know what I mean? The greatness, you reach the honor of the greatness of the human species. Either you're called towards it. That means you're like a soul in this world. This is how it happened for me. You just realize what the most important thing that human beings can do is. And the moment you realize that, it's very strange. You get a sort of, how can I say it? A sort of, I don't know why the term destined is coming into my mind, but like a destined consciousness. I don't know, excuse me, not consciousness, destined confidence. That means it's like you can just like a person can see a car, like an airplane, like lifting up from, you know, the runway. Similarly, I can see the future of certain things that are in motion. A person can find honor in themselves, right? That means that's like, you know, they're like, yo, man, you know, like we're this human species is probably like one of those, like, you know, I think we're more funny than we are intimidating as a species. I think anything that happens, it's gonna happen. They're like, yo, man, an alien landed on Earth. What should we do? I'll be like, send them a comedian. You know, just a stand-up comedian's gonna go to the alien and be like, hey, what's up? What's up with your head, man? Like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have humor engage the species. If the extraterrestrial can understand humor, imagine the first human being to communicate with an extraterrestrial species. For diplomatic extraterrestrial life is like a clown. And the clown goes there and does the honky nose thing, and the extraterrestrials are watching, and all human civilization is broadcasting it, and we're like, what are we doing as a species? I think the smartest thing to do when an extraterrestrial species lands is to celebrate. I think that maybe it's not the most honorable thing. They're like, we don't know if they're good guys or bad guys, but let's be cheerful when they meet us. I don't know, man. Anyways, I'm trying to tell you that, yo, you're being responsible, like, for your future self. You're human. You care about the human. Like, I think everybody at least cares for like one human's future, right? Do you know what I mean? So if you care for just the human design, you cannot avoid its extension, which is the collective human design. Do you understand? That means in the future, most likely more and more, we're going to be ushered towards an era where humans are going to bond, but they're going to bond based on how they were raised in reality. So what that means is humans are going to feel like a family, okay? But it's going to be more of like, how do I say it? Right now, the human, more than it wants to fulfill a role, it wants the outcome of a role. Do you know? It's like somebody sees the movie Wall Street and they're like, I want to be like a, you know, billionaire trader. Do you know what I mean? They see the role, but they see the outcome of the role, and like somebody who hasn't eaten for days, they're like, oh my god, you're telling me if I do this, I can become this. You know what I mean? And it's like that saying goes that when you're hungry, you eat anything. I think the nature of human intelligence is suggesting that the human idea, concept, what all knowledge is centered around its experience. Because all communication is an extension of human behavior, and what we consider as human knowledge is how the world has been discovered. Like the educational system's so messed up right now, even history is so underdeveloped, right? That they don't even have reviewers. Do you know what reviewers are? Reviewers are like great souls, as great as the founders of something. Do you know? But they're born here to come and like be like another update of it. They're not here to be the founder of it. Do you know? That means there's, when I give these lectures, there's many ideas I feel like I'm the founder of. Do you know? I don't feel like, I know that no human being, like it might be rare. I've seen human beings care to look at reality like this. Do you know? And to me, what is intelligence? It's all about what you have access to. Do you know? That means imagine there's someone with a low IQ, and imagine there's someone with a high IQ, and the person with the low IQ has water, right? And the person with the high IQ doesn't have water, right? Now, what would you give in regards to intelligence? You're like, okay, that person's ability to comprehend or notice things was good, but in some sense they did not realize the game being played. That means I firmly believe humans don't just have high IQ, like as if it's a general thing. I do believe there's different levels of awareness human beings have, but I believe that there's a game. There's like a person who's like, might look like the dumbest person. You suddenly give them a tennis racket and they're like, what the hell, this idiot is a tennis star. And you know what I mean? Like, sorry for speaking that way, I'm just saying in context of like a movie scene, you know. You know, or like, do you know the fool discovers golf or something? You know, do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to tell you this whole point that when we wake up, we have two options. Either we know, first we got to ask the question, do I know where I am or do I not? Right now, I'm a being. Then I'll be like, I don't know where I am. And people are like, what do you mean? You don't know you're on Earth in the Milky Way galaxy, in the middle of the, somewhere in the cosmos? And I'll be like, no. I can understand names we've given it, but I don't know where we are. Do you know? Because to me, if you have an empty room and imagine you have stuff in that room and stuff begins moving to the degree that it starts creating even rooms inside rooms, to me, that's a complexity of a creative force. Do you understand? That means there's this big question in theology, actually, where they're like, why did God create man? Right? And why does God in religion, in Islam, like share this view that in some sense, even if, I remember this happened to me, that there was a moment I just opened the Holy Quran and I was just giving lectures on the advancement of civilization. And the Holy Quran, there was this passage, I don't remember it exactly, but I remember I'm a visual learner, so I remember it as a view. And so the view of the phrases in the Holy Quran was, in some sense, even if people all acted perfect, right? God, and had no sins, God would wipe out that species to bring a civilization where they still had sin and ignorance and whatnot, right? And I was like, whoa, so the system admin intends it to be in ignorance for now. Do you understand? Because it's kind of like being like, yo man, why did you just why did you just draw one part of the painting? Why didn't you draw the rest of the painting? You know what I mean? For me, or I should say it this way, why are we here? I'm asking this not from you as a person with a specific personality. I'm asking you as a human member of the human species that is here. That means, what value do you have in civilization? Now, what is civilization? Is civilization who's running it now? No, no, no. What the leaders of the modern world don't realize is that they are carrying they are carrying something that all our ancestors, whether they knew it or not, lived for. That means to me, I'm like, okay, there's a generation of people born. Okay, these generation of people, let's say in one generation, like, I don't know, like a million people are born in 1991. I was born in 1991, or whatever. Let's say in some generation of the earth, okay, and these people, like, you have crazy people, kind people, saintly people, ignorant people, evil people, all of this in that generation of all the different archetypes that arose from all the human beings that were born in that generation. Okay, and imagine now, I'm telling you, when that generation dies, so it's like, you're not saying what's the value of me being, for I was born in 91, so I'm not like being like, yo man, it's not just me that's representing me. I'm representing every human born in 1991. And I wonder, every human being that was born in 1991 on the surface of the earth, what happened to them? Do you know? And what sort of life they lived? And after everybody who was in 1991, imagine, dies, imagine 1,000 years in the future or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, when they look back at all those human beings that entered reality in the year 1991, what did they achieve? Do you understand? And you will realize every generation, regardless of how conscious how conscious they are of the true nature of reality, that means regardless of their clarity or ignorance ratio, okay, they leave behind an outcome, and then the next generation has to deal with it. It's like being a cigarette smoker and like not throwing your cigarettes in the trash. It's like the next generation have to live in a world with one more cigarette in it, for example. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm telling you is that it's very important that we ask ourselves, like, they say this thing that when I'm not a parent yet, I'm not even married yet. do you know do you know but I've heard that, like, a life-changing moment in a man's life is when he holds his child for the first time. Okay, so the moment, like, let's say, how can I tell you, how do I say it? It's like, or in the same way one can say even of marriage, right? I'm saying it's at some point, there's something more important than you in your moment, and you live for the success of you and the whole moment. That's what I mean, right? And I'm saying there's an emotion I consider in everybody who's alive in 2025, because you've been conditioned in the lower, just like you have higher worlds and lower worlds, you've been conditioned in the lower civilization. That means that it's like you have not seen the higher civilization yet. For now, I have access to this through the inner realms, because it's not out there yet. Do you understand? It's like coming soon, an advanced civilization to any evolutionary species that is realizing consciousness is, in some sense, the presence of a universal field. That means you're here, your body's from Earth, so you think your whole intelligence is from Earth. How do you know you are not universal? Oh my God, there's movement in the chat section? What? Okay, hey everybody, welcome. In the chat section, somebody says we're here to learn the self and help others do the same. Millions are listening. Keep going. Sending you a big check soon. Okay, guys. Just use your checks to advance civilization. I mean, helping me can, but the whole point of it is, let me tell you what it is. If I am a human that, I don't know, like, no human outside of me has ever had the fascination to ask this from me. But if I was to wonder, just be fascinated about myself. I am a human being that has understood that we are not the main event here. That means the way reality is set up is not set up that human intelligence can govern all meaning. Therefore, we are in a collaboration. We are simulated beings, guess what? Within an original field of intelligence. That means, like, right now, surveillance is like from one angle, we capture what's in the room. It's like in the future, everything is in a field of activity. Or you're going to realize where you think your thoughts come from. Sure, there's a part of you standing in your ivory tower witnessing from a view that nobody else has everything you've seen. But at the same time, there's a part of you, how can I explain to you? That means I have experienced moments on this earth, okay, where I felt the moment was being present in a more important way than me. Do you know what I mean? That means I'm trying to tell you, that all the problems of your lifetime that you have in your lifetime, they are very small compared to all the problems that the species, humanity, needs to solve. To be honest, in the future, so far it seems that stewardship is the way. That means every person right now alive, you are conscious enough to be a guardian of yourself. If you're a family man or woman, you are a guardian of your family. If you're someone who's, I don't know, serving society or your nation, you're a nationalistic, like you're responsible for your nation's conduct. Okay, But then you gotta realize nationalism was an old game. And people are like, Mr.Within, what do you mean? A world without nations? I'll be like, no. Just because we can see, this is the situation. Imagine in 2025, we're still living in an old world civilization, right? But in our minds, we can, in our inner realms, we can envision like a civilization like 1,000 years ahead, imagine. And we are right now like, okay, what do we do? I'm pretty much telling you, if you divide reality into 3 moments, past, present, future, it can be argued that how are you seeing anything aside from dualistic in this reality? That means they're telling us the world is simulated, but is intelligence simulated? Is the intelligence that moves the reality original or not? What I have come to discover is that in 2014, I had a car accident, which means I was crossing the street and a car legit hit me, and what I felt was like I flipped in the air and I fell. It hit the left corner of my knee, this green BMW out of nowhere, And anyways, long story short, I go to the ambulance, do the tests, and the lady's like, nothing's broken, and I'm just stunned. I'm like, what? How? And she's like, nothing is broken, right? But I'm still like, there's, blood and there's scars and all of this, right? Anyways, some time passes, and right now I'm back to like 100% normal. What I feel is like 100% normal, right? And it constantly in my mind, I was like, wait a minute, I could have, if I had taken 2 more steps ahead, I would have been run over by the car. Do you understand? That means if I was just a couple inches forward, right, the car could have ran me over because the guy wasn't looking. Do you understand? But it hit the left part of my knee somehow, as if I was crossing the street and I suddenly turned to the right and I saw the car coming and my left knee hit it and do you know what I mean? So I'm saying there was a moment in my life where I was like, whoa, it could have all just ended. And now that I'm here still, I'm like, whoa, what is there that I haven't done yet? Do you understand? Like this might sound strange. People think death is the final moment. No. The original reality is, the system admin is. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? It means that I am still here in this reality for a reason that is beyond my understanding. And yet I exist every day, logging back in to, okay, hey existence, what's up? What's changed since yesterday? It's like every day my mind's waking up and it's like, how are you doing, world? What did I miss? And the world's like, here, you missed everything. And then the world's like, how are you, consciousness that's logged into reality? And consciousness is like, oh, I'm all right, man. I experienced another world, yo. It was a dream, and in that dream I had a different body and I could move and I could do things, you know, I couldn't do in normal reality. And then I woke up, though. Do you know what I mean? There was a dream I remember when I was young I was having. It was so perfect, the dream, that when I woke up from the dream, I was like, ah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, we have access to states where our physical body is asleep in the bed, but in our dreams we're dancing around. Do you know? And they're like, scientists are now questioning whether you are an evolutionary being in your dream states. They're like, how did human consciousness evolve in a dream state where any abstraction is spontaneously possible? To the degree that it's been tested to me, it's been proven to me that if you're in a room and there's a bunch of people speaking, their words become influencing your dreams at some point. Do you know? I remember I was having a dream and then I was like, what the fuck? I'm hearing the word curtains. And this is like me when I was like 11 years old and there was like this curtain guy that had come into our house to fix the curtains, and my mother didn't care, like, you know, I was sleeping and the guy was in the room like checking the curtains or something, you know what I mean? And I was like this 10-year-old kid asleep, but in my dream I was like midway, what my own mind was doing was infused by what the other minds were doing in my presence. And when I enter the conscious realm, it is very strange because I don't own it. And people are going to be like, what do you mean? You still shy, son? And I'll be like, no, I don't own any of it. You don't understand. It's like the only thing I understood in 2014 was that it seems that you do something throughout the day and it ends, and either you knew about it and whoever was around you or whatever, do you know? And then it ends. Do you understand? That day ends. Like, how come we don't cry? You know? Like, how come when I wake up every morning, I'm not mourning who I was yesterday, that I can no longer be? Do you know what I mean? Why don't we mourn days? Why do we mourn someone after they are physically not existent? How much of the world are we assuming is all right, but it's not? And imagine somebody's like, man, I just want to relax and listen to some random podcast. You know, if it feels like, a human member of the human species is scolding the whole human species for why it's not advancing the whole human species, that's exactly correct. Like, that's exactly how it should feel like, right? Because to me, you don't understand. It's a matter of dualities denying a possibility. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, yes, we are physical biological beings, but the way we're being physical biological beings is by identifying that we're right now a subjective being. That means I can be any subject right now. They could be like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "What? An empty space for me to input any value?" Imagine they're like, "Yo, no, I shouldn't make." You know, in Islam, there was something so profound, something so beyond spirituality for me. There was something in religion that was so superior. That means to me, I'm sorry, but looking at spirituality, like anybody who's interested in just spirituality, right? As if like, yo, man, like Goku from that anime, what are my true power levels? Ah! Do you know what I mean? Like right now. Let me tell you, I have been raised in a world around pessimists and optimists, and when I have wondered how has my spirit moved, the most bizarre answer I have given you, I can give you, if you really want to know, I don't know. It's the same feeling of I don't know I've had since a kid. It's the feeling of I don't know where I am and what's going on, but I do understand something's going on. But I do also understand that I can't see all of what's going on. And then when I wonder about what's really going on for me, I have to ask myself, what value have you viewed in reality? Like, this is legit my soul's way how it moves. Okay? For me, I understand that, think of it this way, just like how Neo saw, like, suddenly at the end of Matrix, the dude saw everything as green code, and who knew? You know, if I think if anybody like makes the wallpaper of their room into green Matrix codes, I wish I should do. Like, oh my god, that is a genius idea. That is the most genius wallpaper. The most genius wallpaper in human history that can be put on walls of homes is Matrix code wallpaper. Oh my god, I would buy that instantly. You know what I mean? Yo, somebody pointed out that Neo had to accept all cookies before, accessing the Oracle. Can you imagine more than that? Imagine like the Oracle was like, bro, just go to my website, log into my, sign up for my, program, If people are like, yo, Mr. Within, why aren't you teaching right now? Why aren't you hopping on the wagon of like the self-help industry making millions and millions? And I'll be like, you want me to serve a lost world? You want me to serve those movements in Earth? That means I don't know, but for me, I think if they were like, what's the greatest war for an intelligent awareness? It is the war. To me, I don't see it as a war really, because I have a heart. Because I have been silly and I have laughed in this world, you know. But first you live for what your body wants. Then you live for your mind's purpose. Then, after you've, let's say, familiarized yourself with realms of mind, then it's, how do I say it? If your mind's generating purpose, and that's okay, I think for the soul is a matter of you don't generate truth, you find truth. That means to me the difference between being spiritual and religious is that the new age spirituality is the last, what do I call it? It's the last Hold on, guys. Just hold on a sec. To me, as spirituality and non-dualism are the last refuge of the ego. That means, imagine, right? This whole time you haven't realized that it's not just a neutral reality. There is an anti-human moderator, that wants all humans. There's an anti-human moderating force that wants humans to forget God, to forget the divine agency of their reality. You know, we are lucky that we have access to the divine world. And I was like, yo, it's slipping again. Start talking about it to the modern generations. But I do it as the system admin because to me, there is something very systematic about how intelligence happens. To me, the value of humanity is not what it is seeing. the Think of it this way: you become excited the more unknown a person is, and it's hilarious. They're like, yo man, why is it that couples, when they're dating, everything is so passionate and exciting and new, right? And when they've been married for years, why do couples hate each other? you know and it's because they are only living on the level of mind. The soul's life is different. The soul is not about analysis, questioning, calculation, preparation. The soul happens in command. So what does that mean? That means you might not understand, like, I don't know how to explain it to you. The impression is that we wake up throughout the whole day and we're just the idea of ourselves, but no, that's just what we notice. And what's actually happening is that reality is behaving as if it's a field of intelligence. It is not limited to an individual. Like an ant on a rock cannot act like it knows everything. To me, we are actually unknown selves in an unknown world, and we just had to go through the storytelling because our ancestors freaked out. You know? Can you just imagine? They were like, what am I looking at? And they were like, I don't know what to tell you. And they're like, tell me a story then. And it was enough. That means I am shocked to see humans in 2025 that deep down, you who are closer to the most natural moments of Earth that will go down in history. That means little did I know, 2025 was still a year where technology, think of it this way, there is a divine presence to your cognitive function. You are a being that is not just acting in accordance to how you sequence thoughts and you think that's thinking. It is the presence of life. There is no mightier sentence. I have awakened. And so many people want to be enlightened. I'm like, buddy, you're awake to existence. Isn't that the fascinating component? Like the most fascinating thing about my day, regardless of what I do, is like, yo, look at me. I'm existing over here. Someone from New York, yay, I'm walking over here, Hey, I'm existing over here. Guys, connect to me on Discord. I'm trying to get a Discord event going. If you want to connect, go on Discord. They're like, how does Mr.Within promote his audiences to go? Like, how does he develop community? Go on Discord. All of you, go on Discord right now. They're like, okay, it's a type of honest marketing. We get it. Go on Discord right now. Man, there was a time I wanted to be a king of the world, but I'm like, I'm just too silly. I'm too silly to be a dictator, guys. It's heartbreaking. No, no. If I was in charge of the world, it would have a completely value set. Beauty, intelligence, and awareness will be prioritized. The most genius views. That means if world leaders can negotiate, all right, bring up ChatGPT, open up, and they're both gonna use it. We got to be in a world right now where, like, a leader of one nation goes on and he's like, hey man, can you see, like, he shares his screen and he's like, look, I'm asking ChatGPT that the smartest political thing we can do right now is this. How can you say anything against ChatGPT? Do you know? Do you know what I mean? And then they're like, no, our advanced AI has said. They're like, Mr. Within, what would you say to if you were in the UN? Do you know? If they were like, Mr. Within, if you were in the UN in front of all world leaders, what would you say? And I'd look at them and I'll be like, I'm existing over here. Oh, man. Man, I'm reaching that point, where I might just go into a stand-up career, but I'm gonna tell jokes about, like, existence. I'm like, hey everybody, isn't it funny we have no clue where we are? And the crowd goes wild. Guys, that's gonna be. Can you imagine? They're like, what was written on Mr. Within's? Imagine I'm like, God willing, be considered as a, servant of humanity, and be globally recognized, but on my death stone, they're like, what's on his death stone, man? And imagine I'm not dead yet, and I'm like, I'm existing over here. You're walking like in the park, you bump shoulders with an alien, and you look at the alien. The alien's like, buddy, don't make me invade your whole planet. I'm like, hey, man, I'm existing over here. Leave me alone. Oh, man. They send the cast of Gossip Girl to go, like, talk to aliens that are... They're like, send Harvey Specter. It's like, that's a fictional character. Get the writers, yo. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. I'm out of control right now. Oh, man. Excuse me. Guys, silliness is my defense mechanism against existential chaos and anguish, okay? They're like, yo, man, that's a funny guy, yo. It's like you cannot be in the inner realms. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole biggest issue with mental illness is, like, the entity is acting entitled to the momentary event. Like, do you know what I mean? I had this conversation, with someone recently, and it was about, like, they just used the term, like, how do I say it? I was explaining to them the notion in psychology of a fragmented psyche, okay? Technically, everybody who's alive listening right now, you're witnessing, like, the legend of Mr. Within. The legend of that dude who tried to give 10,000 talks. They're like, why is he talking so much? He was shy when he was little. No, in utter honesty, what I would say is that we need to see the whole point of it is like all human warfare right now is based on um, invisible worlds that never can meet each other and they can't get along. You see, to me, I was like, it's not that we replace everything, we can't do that. To me, this old world, Civilization 1.0, and the vision I have of Civilization 2.0, is that Civilization 1.0 isn't gone. It just becomes everything that anybody has done up to this point in history is like next level archiving and museum thing. You know, that means I'm living in like somewhere that's going to be very historic to beings in like thousands and thousands of years. You know, who know, there might be advanced communicators in the future, you know, coming to Toronto, Canada or something, you know. And I had this vision the other day that in the future AI is going to be so advanced, guys, that it's going to be able to align, and even based on my voice, how it has changed through years, be able to organize exactly what year I gave each talk, you know. Anyways, let me see what else I can say. Guys, a quick breather. I'll be back in a few minutes. You know, I firmly believe, or I shouldn't say that firmly, but I can see. I mean, it's true for me. You know, there's this thing, I don't know why I'm telling you this now, but I think it's important. Actually, let me go back to the honor of our species. I want to say that I don't know, but I, as a human being on this earth, there has been moments where I have felt purely alone. I have felt moments also pure solitude where intentionally I went to be alone, you know? And to some degree, when I am alone, or when I don't have to process the information of the outer realms that deeply, that means when somebody can go into a comfortable room, right? They can sit there, relax, and then now they're like levels to their mind unlock, you know, through the comfort of initial level that in some sense was occupying the attention. You know, to me, I am my life, every day of my life has become like, all right, as an unknown being, how shall I move in this known world? As a presence of intelligence, how shall I walk in the linguistic simulation as an idea to any other individual that sees me? How shall I identify with the sounds and the letters that are my name? How shall I identify with the character in that story of the world that I only saw, that I lived in? And at some point, it's as if it's funny. In the outer realms, people can cry for me. That means anybody who right now is in my presence, if I die, like physically, you can cry for me in the outer realms. But it's strange, because if you cry for my soul, it's as if the soul was unknown. Do you understand? That means that's the funny thing. It's like, yo man, I'm in an unknown world, but I'm knowing the self for a little while. For me, the greatest argument is the advanced civilization argument. For me, I just looked at our species and I'm like, what are we doing? And then I was like, what are we not doing? And then I was like, okay, what can we envision ourselves doing? And then the word advanced entered my life and everything changed after that. When I became conscious of the true depth that in front of any moment you can put the word advanced. You're a carpenter, put the word advanced, and now it doesn't mean you're an advanced carpenter, but if you dive into the dimensions and the depth of carpentry and you build something no human has, you know what I mean? You're an advanced carpenter. Because we value the discovery of a new world over the looping of an old one. And it's strange because I think I was raised like, if they're like, yo man, like, are they kidding when they say, like, Persians, or I shouldn't say Persian, I mean, like, it's like you were raised like among lions. No, guys, it's not like I was a more badass version of Tarzan and instead of apes I was raised among lions. I don't know. I've been raised to in people are raised differently in how they handle their own value. The way that life has brought me forth so far, everything, I have reached that point that this is, you can see it, this is my ego saying it, there's no other way to see it, I guess, but um, I have an awareness to how not just only this world is not a physical place, that actually there's a field of intelligence, okay, and we, in the subtlest way, how our cognition occurs. Do you understand? Like an advanced intelligence doesn't need to move your whole body when a bunch of neurons can just get the job done. Do you understand? So it's a matter of wondering what's moving our intelligence, even on like how the brain's neurons and all this move, right? And to some degree, it's an awareness to the whole reality. It's a convergence. That means like this might sound bizarre, but if they test my mind to see brain activity, I can tell them that it's kind of, to me, a matter of whether the reality is there. You understand? That means, like, in the same way your biological eyes gives you an access to this, you can imagine a world like opposite to this or different than this, right? And yet your mind has an ability to imagine itself there. You know, I can imagine myself in a flying car, but I'm not in a flying car. And I could see myself in the future. They're like, driver's license? You mean talking to your AI car? Anyways, we all live in honor for some value we've seen. You open your eyes, reality is a value proposition. You know, you decide how to filter it. But ultimately, what I've understood is that, like I've kind of seen this, is that what creates, what that means energy finds the purposeful. The purpose creates energy. Do you know, have you seen that, like, there's so many people who might be foolish or slow or lazy, and then in an emergency they're the fastest one? Do you know what I mean? So it's like when the intensity of reality hits, the true intelligence comes out. And in actuality, we have to realize that communication is not the entity. That means we don't appreciate the fact that the presence of intelligence is living a greater life than the manifestation of that intelligence. I don't know how to say it, that there's always a beyond for the human experience. Where does it all lead? So, we're not samurai, we're not like medieval knights, but I think that to live a great life, one must have a great view of life. And to live an advanced life, one needs to have an advanced view on life. And an advanced view on life means what else? To me, that's a brilliant moment. When you just realize, wait a minute, I've been identifying as this human archetype, and then I've gone in this search for truth. But have I not realized what is looking for truth is a self-generation? But what is actually going on? What is deeper than my mind? What is the life that is truly living here that we cannot truly see? Because as simulated beings, the reach of our sight is only so far. Beyond the dreams of flying cars, and how the soul like an eagle flew beyond and to a moment near God and saw all worlds at once. That's what it means. To be religious means that there's something original within you that has noticed that the original is important. It has nothing to do with conservative, liberal, traditional or something. It's just the realization, hey, why are we all existing here in the same place? You know, why didn't the system admin put each of us in our own worlds? Why isn't there 8 billion Earths right now? Why is there one Earth with 8 billion humans in it? It's because we are not even here to understand life, or excuse me, we're not here to like understand the edge of the world and see what being a self or world means. What it means is what you do while you were here. And you know who the smartest beings are? That means no IQ test. I don't care how many PhDs they give that human being. If that person entered the world and before they died and left this system, they didn't update the system, then they were not smart. Do you understand? And this doesn't mean, and what does updating the system mean? That means all those people who have children, they're smart. They're very smart. They're smart souls. They have initiated something in the realm more important than any online interpretation of it. There will come a moment where the separation of worlds will not be believed to be the context. There will come a moment where you will realize all existence is in the presence of the unconditional state. The most advanced being has no condition. So we are not the most advanced, God is. That means if you ask me, hey man, what would the most advanced self on, okay, let's say this. Let me just go with this. What would the most advanced self on earth look like? That means the fastest being we can't see. The strongest being we can't fathom what they can lift. The smartest being we can't fathom how deeply they see. Sorry guys, this was on mute and I was talking. I apologize. That's ridiculous. Anyways, how advanced can we truly be as a species, and we live in honor for that. That means, why is forgiveness important? Because you got to give the person a chance to like be human again. What does it mean to be human? You care for yourself. That means the person's like, I care for myself. You know what? I don't care for my species. How's that possible? Do you know? For me, if somebody's like, hey man, as a human being, what's your like great human purpose? Like, what are you living for as a human being? And I will say, it, up to 2023, I am still convinced that it's an advanced civilization, an advanced state. For me, I don't understand why our mind can envision a future, but we're not there yet. But why is the mind there? You know, why can my mind imagine flying cars, but why are we living in a world that there is no flying cars commercialized? And so it's about a nearness to the creator, and to wonder about what you are actually as a created being. For me, I'm living a life beyond ego. Why? Because I see the ego as a part of my moment. They're like, yo man, do you know? It's like, imagine your shoes. You know how they're like, yo man, you gotta walk in that person's shoes? Imagine like your shoes were your identity. And they're like, hey man, are you your shoes? And the person's like, no man, I'm not my shoes. You know, they're like, how? We're living in a society where we believe everybody is their shoes. Whatever shoe they wear, they are. Like their identity. We don't care about like their driver's license or anything. We just care about what shoe they wear. You know what I mean? And the higher class of society are wearing like advanced technological shoes, and the lower class of civilization is like walking barefoot or something. You know what I mean? But I'm saying the whole point of it is, it's like, how ridiculous is that? The same ridiculous level should be there for when we say, wait a minute, is an idea of ourself us? I think some part of us knows that we are living a hidden inner life, and I think it seeks to share it with others. I think we're living two lives, and the purpose of our life is, in some sense, our inner life reaching what it wants in the outer life. Like, what is it? They're like, yo, man, that young kid wants a Bugatti. What is that? The person's inner life has reached something that their outer life hasn't. Do you see? And then the purpose of their life becomes, all right, I don't have, I should have. Right? But then you realize at the end of this life, what really, it's not what you took that was valuable, it was what you gave. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality of it. As this famous poet by the name of Rumi said something in the lines of, before death takes away all that is given, like, give away all there is to give. Even in the Holy Quran, I'm Muslim, I consider system admin beyond the world room. To be in the presence of a higher power means the lower power cannot act absolute. So Muslims cannot act like God. Do you know? That means a Muslim will probably have a hard time in Japan. If people are bowing, he's going to be like, don't bow. Do you know? Because we are created. So when creation watches us, our specific creation, they remember the creator. That means, like, when a human being pets a squirrel or like pets a dog or something, it's like, it's a divine experience. It's a higher intelligence engaging a lower one, right? But God is the highest intelligence, and everything that is manifest. It doesn't matter if you have the most powerful being or the least powerful. They are created by a being beyond measure. And to me, it's just to realize that it's a simulation, folks. My body is simulated here for some time. Just like there's entropy of the cosmos, of the universe, universal entropy. Everything will change, but what was the value of us being here? And it's not just you live to just serve the future generations. It's how you actually performed in the presence of it all. To me, I'm like, wait a minute, does Earth mean in front of all that exists and all that which created all existence, I'm like performing? That means you don't understand. To me, this might sound strange for viewers. When I wake up, it's work for me. It's like work. It's something that the effort has to move existence. But the challenge for me, I need somebody to pull me to the outer realms, because I'm like really pulled into the inner realms. Do you know that means I'm a being that's looking reality, I'm living contextually rather than conceptually. That means the context is more important than the concept that's in it. The advancement of humanity is more important than just me living a selfish life, for example, you know? So, I think even they're like, love is the most advanced state, and I'm like, yeah, what is love? Love is that state where there's ultimate freedom to be the most advanced expression. That means I think that's what everybody's looking for. They're looking for to in some sense be, for their existence to be important to not just them. Do you know? I think this is just innate in human intelligence. But anyways, I'm just telling you, you might be someone who isn't married, doesn't have kids, you know, doesn't know how the future will happen, do you know? But it doesn't matter even like how alone a soul feels in the world. It's like how alone a human being is. the species lives on. Do you understand? It's like we're not, we don't realize, just like a person wears a jersey for the soccer team or football team or whatever team they like. Do you know what I mean? Or there's these all these like okay, in the same way, you're already wearing the jersey for the human team by being human. Because they ultimately want utility for civilization. We want to be useful. That's the thing. You know, I firmly believe the human, they keep saying balance, balance, balance. So what balance means is that a being needs external intelligence activity, external intelligent activity as much as it needs internal intelligent activity. But the ratios are different. Some beings are internally more active, their intelligence is active. Some beings, they're externally, their intelligence is active. Right now, we're living in a society that rewards external activity over internal activity. They're like, yo, you just thought it, you didn't create it. You know But it's important to realize we don't own life, we are participating as life in a system that is unknown, as a life force that is unknown, through a life form that is unknown technically, but we've known it as the human on earth. Anyways, folks, live in honor of the greater values. That means whatever human being you are, right? If you've reached the level where you've cared for like yourself, do you know, your children and your grandchildren, all right, now you got to care for the world of your grandchildren. Do you know? This doesn't mean charity. This means advancing reality towards making human beings ultimately universal. That means if they tell me, what are you going to teach your, if I have kids one day, they're like, what are you going to tell your kids that you're not going to tell anybody else, right? And I'm going to be like, it's not something I'm not going to tell anybody else, but it's one of those things where what I would reveal to them as the most important is that you are not just in the presence of your parents. You're not just in the presence of society. You're not just in the presence of history. You're not just in the presence of manifestation. You are in the presence of the original being. So it will bring a tear to my eye when I realize that humanity has noticed that what we call human is a certain state of consciousness. It's like a certain way the antenna is. But what we truly are, what we truly can be, where it's all going, and in some sense, how has the natural world been commanded into an instantaneous being? It's like our world is displaying the signs of being created by a pure being. A being so pure, so original, that reality doesn't have a delay of illusion. That's magnificent, you know. To me, something why God is such a beautiful idea of you is because it's a being that cannot make mistakes. And our whole lives are defined by our mistakes as beings. So to me, religion is like telling me, all right, there is an original way, is an unconditional way of being. Do you know what that means? That means truth is present in a way that has nothing to do with how limited the limited perspective of the human. So we got to understand, to be a human being is like identifying with a certain sector of how reality is happening. When I say we live in honor, we live in honor of the greatness of humanity, because it's like more fascinating than even knowing like what your most advanced self is to like realize, okay, I can't know how advanced I am if I'm like, you know, If I'm like, the only way I can know how advanced I am is if I'm in a world that everybody is advanced and it's the most advanced world. That means it's very difficult to believe in the afterlife, in heaven as an original world, right? And in some sense live on earth, and in some sense be like, okay, what do you think earth is? I'm like, I think it's a room, yo. I think this world is a room. Right now, I don't see the edges of the cosmos, but it feels like a room to me. I'm in some room of existence. Okay, and they're like, okay, what about your mind? And I'm like, yeah, the inner realms are kind of like a space too. You know, that means it's like if I throw an apple in the air, that's moving in the air in the external realms. If I visualize I'm throwing an apple in the air, that's moving in like an invisible room that's overlaid somehow, or right over, that's instantaneous with the outer room. Anyways, and I'm telling you, it's remarkable. It's like there's gonna come a time in the future where you're gonna hear the song of the advanced civilizations. Do you know what that means? The songs of the advanced civilization, even. It's that era in history where I feel like, kind of like, you know, like strangely in the pioneering moments of it. But there will come a time where the evenings will be filled with conversations on the most advanced civilization, most advanced states of being. And we will realize, we will reach that point where a person's intelligence is not based on how much they're aware of what they know. It's based on how fascinated they are of how much they're not aware. That means like an unknown being is always more interesting than a known being, you know? It's a fascinating moment we're in. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced.